So during Francis Ngannou's walkout at MVP on Netflix #1, Dana White announced the return of the Mac. He is back, UFC 329, and I suppose the rest of the card is there as well also, which is a little bit unfair because the card is actually looking quite good. I am looking forward to a fair few fights on here. I actually think the whole main card is actually pretty fucking good. But look, when Conor McGregor's back, I mean, that just eats up all the headlines and nobody really pays attention to the rest of it. It's all sort of focused on him. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the main event. We're going to talk about the rest of the main card that got announced. A lot of good shit on here. But first of all, come on. Conor McGregor, Max Holloway, #2 at 170. This is a welterweight fight. The first time Max Holloway will fight at 170. But we need to start by talking about Conor McGregor. Fuck Max Holloway at 170, right? Conor McGregor is back finally after, 5 years away now? And it's for real this time. It's actually announced. I know he was supposed to fight at UFC 303 against Chandler. That fell through. He broke his toe or something like that. But, the return of Conor McGregor has been teased by Dana White. Oh, we're working on this, we're working on that for fucking years now. So I understand the skepticism of people who are thinking, oh, I'll believe it when I see it, when he makes the walk and stuff like that. But in terms of actually pulling out of fights, he doesn't really do that. So the fact that this is an official announcement is good enough for me. I think this will happen. He will be back. He will fight on UFC 329 because he's not really one to drop out, right? He's not really one to bottle it. He is not one of the bottle, okay? So I am about 99% sure that this is going to happen. But think about this for a second, right? See, since 2016, since he beat Alvarez, McGregor's had 4 fights in 10 years. Lost 3 of them. I don't know how I feel about him coming up against Max Holloway here, but this return, 5 years in the making. Dana White teases this every so often when interest starts to wane, when we start thinking to ourselves, we really could do with another McGregor. Dana starts teasing, I spoke to him or whatever, and then we see him hanging weights off his dick in the walk-in wardrobe. There always seems to be some sort of incident where it's like, oh, wow, he's truly done. And that was probably the strangest of the incidents, but I mean, there's been worse, okay? There's been court cases, okay? You know what's been happening. But, look, let's just park all that to the side. Let's talk about this fight. Max Holloway and Conor McGregor, #2. The first one was, oh, Jesus Christ, what year? 2014, I want to say. It might even have been before that. It was around 2014-ish. And McGregor won by decision. But that was at 145, so we are a decade older and 25 pounds heavier. 3 undisputed world championships and a BMF title. 2 Hall of Fame careers. And that's kind of what this is. This is a sort of spectacle fight. I made a video before when it was looking like McGregor was going to fight at the White House, and I was looking at his potential opponents. Nate Diaz, thank God. I say thank God that didn't happen. Having watched Diaz against Perry, but I thought Masvidal might have been in here. I thought Michael Chandler. I mean, Jesus Christ, he has been waving the flag for this McGregor fight for I don't know how long. He still didn't get it. And his consolation prize is getting flatlined by Mauricio Huffey at the White House, no less, with probably the most eyes on him that you'll ever have. So that's good. That's a great trade-off. I think I said, it might have been in one of the videos that I'd done prior to MVP's first event there. Might have been one of the previews for that. I said that I didn't really like the rumours of McGregor and Holloway because whilst it's a good payday for Max Holloway is still an active lightweight who you would think would be trying to pursue a title shot. What does a win over Conor McGregor at 170 really do for rankings? But this is the thing, I'm still thinking like it's old UFC where they care about, who beats who in what order. A win over Conor McGregor in a completely different weight class could get you enough hype to just get you a title shot. So, good for Holloway. I suppose this This is probably one of the easier matchups that he could get, which is frightening to say. But you look at the rest of lightweight who's above him, he just get held down by Charles Oliveira for 25 minutes. Who else is in there? Arman Sarukian up at the top. Do you want to see him get held down by Arman? Ilia Topuria already knocked him the absolute fuck out. And I mean, he's already beat Gaethje, who's somehow interim champion after beating Viziev and Paddy Pimblett, which is fucking insane. But he's already tied up at White House, and we'll get to Pimblett and BSD shortly. So there's nothing really else for Holloway right now, unless you want to see Arman Sarukian beat him, which I don't. I mean, it's a nice matchup, but to me at least, it looks kind of like a foregone conclusion. So this is probably the best thing for Holloway in terms of hype. It's a decent fight for McGregor because there's not really going to be wrestling here, unless the outside chance that McGregor actually watched Holloway and Oliveira and thinks, you know what, I could probably bodylock Holloway, take him down and sit on his back for 5 rounds. I don't think he's going to do it, but if he was desperate for the win, he probably could. The fight happening at 170 definitely gives McGregor a better chance of success. And I'm not going to go so far as to say that Max Holloway's chinny now, but I'm more confident of McGregor being able to land that left hand on Holloway at 170 than I am at 155, because I'm not going to go so far as to say that Holloway's now chinny. Oliveira didn't really land anything on him in terms of KO shots, but he did get dropped by Poirier, and he did get flatlined by Ilia. So, you know, I'm again not going to say chinnies, but not going to say that he is chinny, but there's vulnerabilities there. So I think if McGregor's really, he's put on so much size that if he had to cut down to 155, it would look like featherweight McGregor, you know what I mean? Whereas now that he's able to, I think this will probably still be a decent cut for him though, because he has put on a lot of size, but Holloway not having to go through a major cut, maybe it'll benefit him. Maybe, you know, I don't know how it'll affect his speed and such, but maybe it'll help his chin, the fact that he doesn't have to lose all that water weight. Carrying around that extra size, will he start to tire? Because I'm not going to predict this just yet. I'll have a video closer to the time predicting it. But Max Holloway, I call Sean Strickland king of the decision. Max Holloway loves to take things to a decision as well. At 170, McGregor's first fight in 5 years, can you see this going 5 rounds? You know what I mean? Can you actually imagine in your mind Conor McGregor coming back and going 5 rounds? I heard that he was trying to make it a 3-round fight. I like that. A 3-round fight drastically increases his chances of winning. Okay, I would still think that it would go to a decision even if it was 3 rounds. But the thought of McGregor having to fight for 25 minutes is harrowing. And I think Holloway is going to try and take it there because, fuck, this is going to be a TKO in the late rounds, isn't it? Like, I'm not predicting. I'm still gonna enjoy the announcement before I actually need to think about who's going to win and who's going to lose. Because I think if McGregor loses, he could be done. You know, there's 1 fight left on his deal. And with MVP being around and willing to throw out some money, and if they went back to the Intuit Dome, Conor McGregor would sell it out. So, but UFC is not going to let that contract run out. They're not going to give him another fight if he loses. And even if he wins, they're going to make him sign a new deal that'll probably be, they'll try and throw 8 fights at him like they did for John Jones, like they did for Alex Pereira. They'll try and throw some crazy multi-fight deal at him to try and keep him. But I think if he loses, it could be done. But that's the main event. That's the one everybody's looking forward to. Interesting fight, interesting matchup. I can't decide whether I'm really looking forward to it or not. I don't know if I'm going to like the outcome, but I will enjoy the pre-fight hype. I don't know how he's going to approach the press conference, if we're going to get old McGregor or if we're going to get like, you know, Donald Cerrone, Dustin Poirier 1 McGregor. I don't know what the drug testing policy is going to be like, or if he's going to be able to stay sober until the day of the fight. We'll just need to wait and see what happens. It's all very interesting. But let's take a look at the rest of this card. The co-main, or I say the co-main, it's not really a co-main. It's a semi-main. It's the second to last fight. Benoit Saint Denis versus Paddy Pimblett, who took a fair bit of damage and a few eye pokes against Justin Gaethje. I don't like this fight for Pimblett. I'm not going to lie, I'm edging towards BSD. But the thought of McGregor and Pimblett at the press conference together is interesting. I think Pimblett may opt for some more grappling than he did against Justin Gaethje. But BSD has a lot of submission wins. He obviously just ground and pounded Dan Hooker, but that was fairly easy. I think Pimblett's going to put up a much better fight on the ground compared to Dan Hooker, who is seemingly useless on the ground. But he also just KO'd Beneil Dariush, which, I mean, it's a win that's aged like milk. He knocked him out in 16 seconds. But then again, you know, it's Beneil Dariush. And I hate saying what else do you expect, because Dariush is good. He's just, his chin's just made of glass. So 16 seconds, yeah, it's an impressive knockout. It's also Beneil Dariush. He's entering like James Vick's James Vick comical KO fucking territory, which I hate, because Dariush is good, but it's done. You know, BB's got to hang it up. But that's a solid co-main event, big fight at lightweight. Some implications there that if BSD wins, I mean, he might only need one more victory for a title fight, probably over a top 5 contender. If Pimblett wins, I mean, is he really back in the mix? He didn't look great against Justin Gaethje. I enjoyed that fight a lot, right? It was a fun scrap, but I mean, the last however many like the videos on X of the last 10 seconds of that fight are just comical. So I think Pimblett has fun matchups waiting, but I don't see his run to the title, if that makes sense. I can see a BSD run to the title if he wins. But look, solid semi-main event. We have Corey Sandhagen against fucking Mario Batista. And it's a decent fight, but it should be Sandhagen O'Malley, but we're not getting that fight because each guy's sort of tied up doing other shit. If Sandhagen wins though, I could see him getting O'Malley, you know, because at the top of bantamweight we have Peter Yan as the champion. Umar is hanging around. Merab is also hanging around. And I think one of those two will get a title fight before like Sean O'Malley's ready to come back, if that makes any sense. So Sean O'Malley's probably going to beat Eamon Zahabi or Ariel Helwani, whoever the fuck he's fighting at White House. By the time that O'Malley's ready to come back, like, we're not getting the O'Malley-Yan fight before we get Yan versus Merab 3 or Yan versus Umar. So if Sandhagen can pull this off, he might get an O'Malley fight. Batista and O'Malley won't fight, they're friends, so I don't know what comes next for him after this, because he's already been beaten, I'm pretty sure, by Umar, I want to say. I don't think he's fought Merab yet, but he's already lost to Umar. And again, if he beats Sandhagen's number 4. He's not going to fight O'Malley. I think they trained together. Umar has already beat him, and Merab's there, and Merab could easily get a title fight if he just asked for it because of the run he went on last year. So I don't know what really comes next for him. It's looking like, you know, maybe Song Yadong. What happens to Eamon Zahabi? Can he really lose to O'Malley and then go up against Batista just coming off a win? It's an okay fight. It's just I don't know what happens coming out of it unless Sandhagen and O'Malley then win their next fight. Then that seems like the obvious matchup. But you know, sometimes it doesn't always come together like that. One guy wins, one guy loses, and then you lose the matchup. That's just how it goes. But other than that, on this card also is an interesting flyweight fight. We have Brandon Royval and we have Loner Kavanagh. Now, the outcome of this fight strictly depends on whether you think Loner Kavanagh is going to become champion, because he's been knocked out by Charles Johnson, which is a good sign, right? This tends to happen where you get KO'd by Charles Johnson, then you go on a crazy run. So if you fancy Loner Kavanagh to become champion, I would suggest that you pick him. But Brandon Royval is a curious case because he's a top flyweight and he can beat other top flyweights. But it's almost becoming sort of gatekeeper status where the guys that he loses to are going to be champions. So he beat let's just start off here. He lost to Pantoja. He then beat Brandon Moreno. He then beat Tatsuro Taira. He lost to Josh Van and get KO'd by Manel Cap. So it's a fucking coin flip here. This literally just depends on whether you think Lona Kavanagh is championship material. Again, the KO loss to Charles Johnson puts him in good stead. And he looked good against Brandon Moreno in Mexico. Look, interesting fight. I think it's crazy how Lona Kavanagh get KO'd and was like bottom of the rankings. He was like 14 or 15, something like that. Then gets a fight in the Fight Night main event against Brandon Moreno. He was like supposed to be the sacrificial lamb here. We'll give you Lona Kavanagh and you can beat him in Mexico, Brandon. Send the fans home happy. And then he gets pieced the fuck up by Lona Kavanagh and loses the decision. That is hugely funny. So, look, this is an interesting fight. I'm looking forward to it. I'm fancying Brandon Royval slightly. But also, Brandon Royval has no momentum. He's coming off the back of 2 losses. What's the mental state like is what I'm wondering. Losing to Joshua Van's one thing, right? That loss has aged. And I think, like, it was a good fight. Joshua Van done well. People fucking glazed that Joshua Van performance. I thought the fight was close. I thought it was a really good fight. And I think it's closer than what some people say, because they talk about that fight and then act as though Josh Van just pieced him up straight for 3 rounds. I didn't really see that, but where the fuck even was I? Yeah, Brandon Royval, no momentum right now. So this is probably the best time Kavanagh could have gotten this opponent, because off the back of 2 losses at flyweight, granted, Joshua Van went on to become the champion, who luckily beat Pantoja via injury, but he KO'd Tatsuro Taira, or TKO'd him, early stoppage. And Manel Cap was getting spoken about for being in title contention too, so that really could have been his fight against Joshua Van instead of Taira's. It's just one of those things. So he's on a run right now where he's lost 3 of his last 5, but the losses have been to Pantoja, Van and Cap. Like, pretty fucking decent losses to have. And in that time, he's beaten Tatsuro Taira. And Moreno, who is a former champion, he has kind of fallen off. Then again, Kavanagh's beat Moreno too. But there was talk about Royval trying to move up to bantamweight, so I don't know how hard he's finding the 125 cut. Maybe that plays a factor in here. Maybe if he loses this, he's then just going to try and move up. Or maybe even if he wins, he'll try and get a bantamweight fight off of a win at flyweight, as opposed to going up, having lost 3 in a row, and now you're fighting fucking outside the rankings. You know what I mean? Where is actually Brandon Royval ranked at flyweight right now? He's number 4, right? So he probably still would get a ranked bantamweight opponent, even if he lost. Because Lona Kavanagh somehow shot up all the way to 6 off of 15 just because he beat Moreno, who's now slipped to 9, Jesus Christ. But yeah, coin flip. It's sort of dependent on how far you think Lona Kavanagh can go, is going to be the winner of that fight. I'm leaning towards Royval. But now, the fight, probably the opener, one I'm really looking forward to, the man to save heavyweight, Gable Steveson, making his UFC debut, currently 3-0, having knocked out a few cans. Whereabouts was he fighting? Dirty Boxing? It was like John Jones's promotion, wasn't it? Because they're friends, he trains him, which, I mean, look, how much better of a coach can you get than John Jones? Just one of those things. I know a lot of people don't like John Jones, but in terms of like the fight IQ you want to learn from, there's not really that much better. He's up against Elisha Ellison, who's 5-2. Look, not much to go off of here. He's lost to Brando Pericic, and the rest of his fights have been outside the UFC, but no crazy reputable promotion. He's not been fighting somewhere where you will have seen him. So kind of walking into the unknown here. I hope Gable Steveson can get it done because he already has a name. He already has some hype. But he's only 3-0. I don't like the thought of him coming in, getting a win via any sort of finish, via any sort of highlight finish, and then he starts getting shot up way too early. He runs into a crafty heavyweight veteran who beats him. And then all of a sudden it's like, wow, you pushed him way too fast, way too far, way too soon. And then it just like, all the hype just washes straight off him. But his credentials are good when you think about Olympic gold medal wrestling. Then again, we've seen what Cejudo was like up against Peyton Talbot, so there's still that. There's still always the possibility that that could happen, which would be devastating, because part of the hype for heavyweight, the little that there is of it, is on these new guys like Josh Hokett, like Pereira coming up, like Gable Steveson coming in. Like, there's no hype for the heavyweights that are already there. It's sort of this new influx coming in to hopefully inject some life into heavyweight. But I'm praying for a Gable Steveson win. Hopefully a dominant win, but not a highlight reel finish where all of a sudden he's now getting like an opponent in the middle of the fucking rankings or some shit like that. Hopefully this is just solid enough performance where he doesn't get finished, dear God, and also hopefully he doesn't get, see if this goes to decision, he's not getting robbed, he's getting handed the decision, and I'm all for it. But like I was saying, the credentials look good. Olympic gold medal wrestler, John Jones is your coach. Hopefully this can help us turn the corner at heavyweight, and we can then enter a new era in the heavyweight division, because I'm still hoping and praying that Rico Verhoeven loses to Usyk and still has motivation to fight MMA, and then he can come in, and now all of a sudden you're looking at heavyweight thinking, holy fuck, there's some good shit happening here, which is more than we've had to say for a long time. So look, that's it. UFC 329, an interesting card, a lot of good fights on here. Like, top to bottom main card looks pretty fucking good. I'm excited for it. On the prelims, Robert Whittaker's on there in his light heavyweight debut. So him versus Krylov should be interesting to see how Robert Whittaker gets on up a weight class. Luke Riley, right, he's undefeated, 13-0. He's had 2 UFC fights, and we're supposed to think like, you know, this guy's like next up and really impressive. I don't think he's looked that great in either performance. I know he got the KO win in his first fight, but he was dominated that entire first round, did not look good. And then he took, it was at the London card just there, he took someone to decision. I can't even remember who it was now. But he was even harsh on his performance. He was saying it was like 5 out of 10. I don't know if I would go that low. It just wasn't really scintillating, right? He has some hype from the UK fans, and he's yet to really properly show it. So hopefully there's eyeballs on this card. McGregor's in the main event. Hopefully he can give people something to talk about. That will be interesting to see. Cody Garbrandt on here, who, I mean, just one for the old time fans. Another fucking Cody Garbrandt fight. How is this guy? I don't even think Garbrandt's that old. He was on top when he was like pretty young. So he's only 34. I say only 34. Poirier retired at 34. But I'm pretty sure Garbrandt robbed his last decision. I can't even remember who that was against either, but I'm pretty sure he won via robbery, which is always the best way to win. Classic victory. And that's UFC 329. So we'll have some preview, we'll have predictions, we'll have a review of that card also. But before we get there, we're going to have some White House content, both preview and review. I also have a few videos lined up before that card comes out. Classic retro reviews coming back very, very soon. I genuinely just have not had the time to watch UFC 25, but that will be the next one to drop before we then visit The finale of the Pride FC Grand Prix tournament of the year 2000, Pride's first tournament, the resurrection of Mark Coleman's career, and also the end of my sanity as Sakuraba and Royce Gracie go for 90 minutes. And if you've watched the retro reviews before, you already know my thoughts on Royce Gracie and my tolerance for his half-an-hour fights. How do you think I'm going to feel about his 90-minute fights? But that's all for a later date. Like and subscribe, hit the notify bell. Also, comment your own thoughts below on this 329 card, implications for the future. Will McGregor make the walk to the cage? Or will this be another false dawn of the McGregor comeback? I think he'll make the walk. He doesn't tend to pull out of these fights. But you never know. Let me know down in the comments section below. Like and subscribe. And I will see you all next time.